So he said he's in the inn. So we'll go there after this, I think. Okay, he leveled up. You can be my mechanic, dude. Oh boy. I have 2 spells. Something. Remorse spells. Okay. Creates a bizarre and perplexing visual distraction, confusing the enemies in its area of effects. What does confuse do? The confused affliction makes the characters behave erratically. Every 6 seconds, the target checks randomly to do one of the following: behave normally, attack an ally, walk in a random direction, or do nothing. So let's see. 6 seconds, so it's equal random. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 outcomes. Only one of those is bad for the caster. 2 of those are great, attack an ally or do nothing, and one of them is sort of neutral. Okay, that's interesting. Binding web. AoE hobbled. Hobbled characters have their dexterity reduced by 2, movement by 1.5, and reflex by 20. Dispels target reflex. It's versus fortitude. Versus reflex. So yeah, spells target reflex. So comboing with blinded rev or blind bind. Oh my god, binding web might be decent. Minus 20 reflex is probably pretty good. Bulwark against the elements. It gives you damage reduction versus burn, freeze, corrode, and shock for 1 minute 18 seconds. Combusting wounds. Causes enemy wounds in the area of effect to ignite, inflicting additional burn damage over time each time they are wounded. Curse of Blackened Sight, blinded. This is an AoE. The target becomes paralyzed. Ugh. Gross. Interesting. Necrotic Lance. Ray of Fire versus Reflex. Rolling Flame. I'm guessing this is non-friendly though, so you look nothing like your portrait. Anything interesting here? Freeze. Ah, it's a damage type. Thrust of the Tattered Veil. Quick Strike of Cruising. Guess that's like a melee. So I think Binding Web and Ray of fire could be good. Yeah, they got some synergy. Wait, what am I? Do it. Do it. Stealing. This worn, dog-eared book is titled Travels Upon the... What? Traveled on the Keldbless Sea. There's an etched illustration of a vast finned leviathan. Offer. A dear wooden woman is standing in front of the fireplace, humming a quiet tune to herself, or perhaps to her unborn child, for she is clearly pregnant. She turns her head slightly as you enter.
Hail, traveler.
Well, finally, I was starting to think. The wind makes a startled noise once she turns around and sees you. Oh, I'm sorry, I was expecting someone else. She gives you a cautious smile. Can I help you? Who are you expecting? My sister Kalisha is traveling with one of the caravans. She sent a letter before she came, said she was going to pay her way by working as a guard for the caravan master. She always was a tough one. I don't suppose you've seen her on the roan or caravan, perhaps? It's Master Odemus. I was with the caravan. I'm afraid the rest of the caravan was killed. Offer covers her mouth with her hand, eyes wide in horror. For a few moments she can manage nothing but a strangled voiceless gasping, her eyes brimming with tears. I told her it was a dangerous path to take. Kalisha was always certain she could take on any danger. Oh, my poor sister. I'm sorry, stranger, I can't believe she's gone. If only I hadn't called her here. If I hadn't written to her, she might still be alive somewhere. Offer's face crumples and solitary tear slides down her cheek. Kalisha mentioned that she thought you needed help. Perhaps I can provide some assistance. It's kind of you to offer, but I don't know if I could impose this on you. It's no small favor. Offer wipes at her eyes. I'm worried about the baby, about the legacy. I told Kalisha as much as I could, but all I know is that for a long time now, every child born in Gilded Vale has been soulless, empty. It's happened to so many mothers, and Lord Raedric, he's exiled all of them, calling it a sign of the gods in disfavor. With my Hathort gone, I don't know how I'd manage if I lost my home too. Oh. I hoped Kalisha could help me. They say Ragna, the old midwife, knows a way to prevent child being hollow-born, but she moved south to Enslog's Compass 2 seasons ago. The journey's too far for me. I can't make it as I am, but I don't have anyone else now. With Kalisha gone, more tears run down her face. Please, can you help me? I'll find Ranga for you. I was the last one to see Kalisha alive. I will honor her memory. Offer blinks, eyes wide. You will? Oh, gods bless you. Here, I'll give you coin to pay her with. You needn't trouble yourself with that. I think it's a drink she fashions out of, well, I'm not sure, but it shouldn't be too much of a burden to carry back. Enslog's Compass is what we call the lagoon to the south. You'll have to cross the wilds to get there. That's what keeps me from trying it myself. She clasped her hands together. Thank you again, truly. You'll be saving us both. She sets a hand on her stomach, smiling through her tears. I got you, girl. Okay, so that's all the marked buildings. Did I try this road? Are you like a thing? Oh, okay. That's just Magritt's Fork, okay. Oh, what up, Swainer? Save's coming.
How do you do?
Don't know who you are and don't care much. Keep walking. We're not here to chat with foreigners. Careful. Looks like they're cut from the same cloth as those rowdies who attacked me. Smells like it too. Saw you outside of the mill. What was that about? Well, someone fancies themselves a meddler, eh? What's that about? It's about Trumbull thinking he's king of the town on account of he's got the mill to his name. The dwarf's jowls quiver with rage. It's about him barely giving us anything for the wheat we bring him, and then cutting our purses when we need to buy grain. It's about farmers going hungry, while some bastard gets rich off the crops. That's what it's fucking about. Now shove off. Well, gotta take the diplomatic approach. What if I buy you all around? Will you talk to me then? Swainer considers it briefly. He looks to the others. Fair enough. Bring us something to wet our throats. Might be. I'll feel up to trading words. All right.
Welcome.
I'd like to buy a round for the fine fellows over there. Fine fellows? You're having me on. Any more fighting and I'll have to ban Swainer from the inn entirely. Until then, it's 6 copper pieces for the lot. Please, if I can just get them talking, I might be able to convince them to stop harassing the miller. The innkeeper studies you rarely for a moment, then sighs. Well, that's all right then. Here, these 3 drinks for 3 fools. You get them off Trumbull's back, and maybe he'll be little less stingy with the supplies.
Gods keep you.
I've brought the drinks. Hey, so you have. By the flame. I never thought I'd be so happy for a mug of the Blackhound's shit beer. Gods, that's good. Alright then, you've got my attention. What is it you've got to say that's worth a round of drinks? Well, I gotta play to my strengths. Look, there's no sense in threatening the miller. You have him up against a wall. Maybe you could ask some of the other villagers for help? Swainer eyes you for a few long moments, drinking deep from his mug. Then he sighs. You're right. Things go on like they are. We're just going to end up hanging from that tree out there. He looks to his comrades. Tell Trumbull we'll leave him be. I don't know what we'll do now with the crops failing. Haven't got another trade to speak of. Think Pasca needs a hand around the inn? Alright. Did a good deed for Trumbull. Let's go tell him the good news. Hey, yo, Trumbull.
Welcome.
Trumbull nods a curt greeting. You're back. Have you had any luck with Swainer? I spoke to Swainer. And what did he say? Convinced him to leave your family in peace. Why, that's great news. I wasn't sure you'd get through to him. They're out of their minds with drink half the time. I owe you a great debt. Here, he pulls a coin purse from his hip and pushes it towards you. Today's earnings, to show my appreciation. And you can be sure I'll let everyone know what you've done for me. Glad to... would my paladin of the shields... I don't think I'd take it. I think as part of my order, I'd be more interested in just mediating that problem, and not so much as interested in this sort of monetary rewards. You're a generous soul, friend, and we'll have you to thank for making it through the coming year. Safe travels, and may you find favor with the gods. Is this dude still here? Oh, maybe he's learned more stuff. Tell me about Lord Raedric. Comes from a line of nobles who have defended these lands since Aedir times. Raedric II was an early supporter of Deerwoodian independence during the Revolution, and the current Lord's father perished in the Saints' War. Hollowboard began appearing on the Deerwood shortly after the war's end. Lord Raedric has taken it upon himself to purge the curse from the Gilded Vale. His measures have been severe, but necessary. Unfortunately, it may not have been enough, if the bells were any indication. The Saints' War? Our age's most egregious example of man's madness. 15 years ago, the people of Red Suras decided that Icewind, their living saint, was the literal incarnation of the god Eothas. This supposed saint took it upon himself to liberate the Deerwood, supposedly from allegiances to less worthy gods, but I've never known an army to conquer a land for its people's own good. The war lasted about a year, but you can guess what that year did to the worship of Eothas in the Deerwood. Lord Raedric's forebears had all been Eothasians, but after his father fell defending us from those fanatics, he personally saw that the temple of Eothas here in town was shut down. He points at a few ruined walls near the tree. I'd like to know more about the Gilded Vale. We're a frontier village, as most settlements in the Deerwood. Gilded Vale hasn't grown much since its establishment in the colonial days. In the last 15 years, I've seen our population shrink further. He takes in the ramshackle houses and half-eaten fences. Hence our recruitment of fresh settlers. Indeed. Why has Gilded Vale's population been shrinking? Icewind's legacy, of course. Many women have had difficulty bearing healthy children of late. A few years ago, Lord Raedric decreed that no mothers of Hollowborn are to be allowed in Gilded Vale. His mouth tightens into a firm line. His lordship dealt swiftly with their objections. It may be harsh, but if it purges us of this curse, is it not worth it? Tell me of these ruins behind the tree. That's what's left of the Temple of Eothas. Lord Raedric forbade worship of the dead god after the Saints' War. It's been abandoned for almost 15 years, but there are plans to rededicate it to Bareth, the god of life and death. Alright, enough. Goodbye. Alright, quest log. Visions and whispers. Seek help for your condition. It's not the illness that struck me at the wagon. This is something new, an affliction of the mind, perhaps, with luck in the Gilded Vale. The magistrate advised me to get some rest while I wait for permanent accommodations. Okay, yeah. I have a little health to regain. It's going to take a rest at the inn.
Gods keep you.
Give me a room. The common room, please. Inns lack actors rest. Cheap rooms are usually available, but if you have a copper to spend, you may consider more expensive options. The bonuses they provide last for a long time and affect the entire party. I got 1,000 copper. 1 perception and mechanics plus 2 to resolve. That's probably good. Your sleep is restless and fevered, assaulted by hisses and whispers, blanketed with a suffocating anxiety. You open your eyes to awaken and find yourself in front of the Gilded Vale's gallows tree. The creaking of its ropes growing louder in your mind until the sound is deafening. Hanging from the tree is an old dwarf woman whose face is shriveled inward like moldering fruit. Her head hangs limply to one side. As you look at her, she looms larger and larger in your mind until she is mere inches from your face. Suddenly her head snaps up, and her eyes open, and they are empty, and behind them is a vast nothingness that makes your stomach drop. Her mouth slowly parts. With a gust of rancid air, she speaks the word, Watcher. You jolt awake, the foul smell of dwarf woman's breath still permeating your nostrils. Sweat runs down your face in thick droplets, and your skin is soaked from head to toe. You remember the woman. You remember seeing her decaying face when you spoke with the magistrate. He called her an animancer. Though it fills you with a new, unqueasy apprehension, you feel a strange compulsion to see this woman once more, if only to confirm she was truly dead. Guess we'll go do that. Somehow it's still nighttime. Caldara de Varanzi. The squat, distended body of an elderly dwarf woman dangles from a thin, crooked bough that sags at the tug of her noose. The bloated purple flesh of her neck, worn away in patches like moth-eaten linen, bulges over the rope that suspends her, and her lifeless head lolls forward rigidly from one side to the other when the breeze shifts. You perceive a faint glow around her that casts no light on its surroundings, but there is a tepid warmth to it, and you feel somehow that you could reach out and touch it. Not with your hands, but with some aspect of yourself that has no worldly dimension. Let's reach out. You take a deep breath, clearing your mind, focusing on your objective. As you exhale, you feel yourself spreading out towards the hanging woman, perceiving all that lies between you and her with new, unfamiliar awareness. Once you have expanded enough to reach her, there is a sudden jolt to your mind, a ringing, electric surge of images and words and sounds. Involuntarily, you shut your eyes, and you feel yourself being pulled down to some deeper consciousness in a space occupied only by you and the hanging woman. And when you open them again, she is staring at you with eyes clouded in a milky fog, her body still swaying in a wind you no longer feel from a tree that stands planted in a misty void. The woman gives a slow nod of her head, the rope creaking as she does, and she smiles at you.
Have you come here for me, dear? Or have you gotten lost? Ah, it is both, I think. Yes?
Am I imagining this?
No, I think not. A pity that. It would be simpler. A mercy, even. To not have to wander anymore, no? Alas, we are here, you and I. Wherever here may be.
How are you able to speak to me?
Is that what we're doing? Perhaps it just seems that way. Perhaps it is the easiest way for your mind to make sense of it. I think it is a very good choice.
I think I survived a bivouac. Do you know why that would be?
Did you now, dear? My, that would be something, wouldn't it? Could be luck, could certainly be. A storm can be a careless thing. Or maybe it got its hands around your soul but couldn't pick it up. A soul can be heavy if it stayed in one piece through its time. Strong souls, we call them in the trade. Cold, I mean. Call them. Those days are all behind me, no?
I need to understand something that's happening to me. She nods, a look of pity on her face, as though consoling a child.
The world looks a little different than it used to, is that it? Feels like you're noticing things for the first time that have always been there. You have seen past the shroud. It only takes an instant. Your soul remembers, yes? Remembers how it sees when it leaves the body, like being reminded of a dream you had forgotten. You are a watcher now, and a watcher you will stay.
What is a watcher?
What indeed? Long hours have many animancers spent studying such things. Not I, no, not I. I'll tell you what I know, though, since fair is fair, and here we are visiting, you and I, and it reminds me of better times. Souls pass on, some say through Audra stones, which are the blood veins of the world. They leave the world for a time and are reborn into it, sometimes more than they were before, but usually less and seldom the same. For all souls there is a time where they do not live, yet have not passed on. And those souls roam the world, same as you or I, either living or lost. But no one sees them because they have forgotten how. A watcher sees, though, knows what to look for. And sometimes they know a person just by looking at them, know where they've been in ages past when their bodies were other bodies. See memories even their owner can't recall. A wonder to behold when all goes well. A wonder.
What did you mean when all goes well?
Oh, nothing to be afraid of, I'm sure. It's just much to take in for some. Sometimes there's trouble sleeping or other difficulties. You should see old Merwald. He could tell you much more than I. A watcher just like you. Helped many in his day. Took up in an old keep no one would claim. Not far, not far. Kadnua, beyond the Black Meadow. He will welcome the company.
Did souls break apart over time?
Oh, yes. Entropy. Rimagan's work. We know little of why or how. We lose pieces of ourselves when we die, and pick up pieces of others when we are born again. But less than what we lost. We tried to stop it with the animantic sciences, but with little success. No. A very small few resist Rimergan's influence and stay together through some force of defiance, at least for a time. But they all succumb eventually, I think. Me? I'll bore you to tears, though. And here I thought you'd come to visit me in particular. Caldara de Baranzi, of the Valian Royal Academy of Animantic Sciences. Not the greatest of their number, but I came here all the same because this was where help was needed.
She laughs, a rasping, choked cackle escaping between rows of buttery yellow teeth, causing her body to bob up and down with each spasm. Seeing her blank expression, she catches herself.
Oh, come now. Such a question. As though the answer were plain as a rope tied for strangling. Allow an old dwarf her last bit of cheer. Well, I came where I was needed, didn't I? Offered my services to Lord Radric for a pittance. A humble pittance. I was to examine the Lord's wife. See why the gods have seen fit to poison her womb. Studied her for months. Looked high and low for impurities. Tested her valence, the permeability of her essence. Do you know what I found? Nothing at all. A healthy woman, head to toe, blessed with a beautiful soul. Such a sweet woman, too. Meek, but warm-hearted. A few months' time, and the lord of the house demanded answers. For a time, I told him what he wanted to hear. Oh, yes, my lord. She is riddled with imbalances. I must have time to cure her. As the birth drew near, he grew impatient, as lords do. And this is where I've ended up. A student of the soul. Something so basic, yet so poorly understood. But so many breakthroughs have been made in my lifetime. Had been made. Had been. To hear the locals tell it, we're a gang of soul manglers that preys upon the weak-minded. And the worst of us are. But the best of us? The best? Inspirations. Miracle workers. My parents were soul twins. Miserable before they met, empty inside. It was an animancer who helped one find the other. Turned their lives around. You wouldn't believe the stories. Amnesiacs helped to remember their lives. the suicidal brought back from the brink of oblivion, the elderly afforded extra moments to say their goodbyes. How soon we forget when we're afraid. It's a fascinating science. A fascinating time to be alive in a place like Deerwood that does not control the research, no? I love the Valian Republics for many things, but their recent caution will leave them behind, I fear. Of course, dear. Goodbye, my dear. It was lovely visiting.
Kaltera closes her eyes and her head slumps forward over the noose, and your surroundings seem to bleed into your vision from some unknown place of waiting. Aloth looks at you through narrowed eyes. Are you alright? You seem lost just now. I'm a watcher. Well, that is interesting. And I expect that explains how you survived a bivouac, huh? In any case, I appreciate your honesty. Since we're traveling together, it's probably wise for us to share these things. Do you know anything about Watchers? Only that they're rare and they seem to have unique insights into certain soul conditions, as you just demonstrated. The smell of pipe smoke, at once earthly and sweet, winds its way into your nostrils. Your eyes trace the smoke to its origins, where you find a broad man with straw-colored hair leaning against a mossy rock wall. His pipe held to his lips with one meaty hand. He looks you directly in the eye, but the look is not aggressive. He regards you with a peculiar smirk.
17 and a half. Well, could be 18, depending on how you count the dwarf woman.
I'm sorry.
The dwarf woman. You were trying to figure out whether to count her as a full person. I think you oughta.
What are you talking
The
about?
people hanging from the tree. 18 of them. Well, last I counted, anyway.
Is that what you people do for fun around here?
Name's Adair. Though to the people around here, might as well be 19. Don't think I'd put you much higher than 22, 23 tops. You look like the sort that likes to get involved.
What makes you think I was interested in the dwarf woman?
I was smoking over here, saw you staring at her. Twice I refilled my pipe. You never so much as blinked. Your mouth was so slack I took you for a Radric at first.
Do you know what a watcher is?
Careful, friend. Best not use that word round here. There'd be any number of Radric bootlickers within earshot. Ciphers, animancers, watchers. Same thing in the eyes of folks around here, Radric especially. They come through these parts all the time with their cures, preying on the desperate. None of them are who they claim to be. Of course, seeing you with that funny look, I'd be halfway inclined to believe you were having some kind of communion with that dwarf. Either case, maybe I'm not 19 after all. No offense.
You think you're going to be hanged?
The town's had it in for me for a long time now. Only fellow who ever stuck up for me, well, he's number 18 up there. My headman on the farm. Used to be my captain during the war.
What war? Saints' War. Only one in my lifetime. A fella decides he's the living incarnation of Aothis, overthrows Rid Saris, marches on Deerwood, so I gave him a Deerwood and hello. What's a Deerwood and hello?
Blew him up.
Who's Aothis? God of rebirth and redemption. Formerly, anyhow. Maybe they call him something different where you're from. Why was your headman hanged? Got involved. Radric sent men down here the other day, said they had it on good authority someone in town was working with Kulsk, plotting Radric's overthrow. Said if he didn't come forward right then and there, they'd hang every last one of us. No one was coming forward, so Swithin, that's my headman, he steps up and says it's him. They took him at his word. He sighs and shakes his head, eyes fixed on the tree. Bound to happen sooner or later. If not for plotting against Raedric, then for protecting me. What does your town have against you?
Pick the wrong god. That's what it comes down to. Used to be a lot of Aethys worshippers in Gilded Vale. That mess of rocks over there, that was a temple to him, to give you some idea. Then one day, somebody named Icewind shows up on Deerwood's doorstep. Says he's the living flesh of Aethys. Got an army with him. Suddenly, Aethys isn't so popular in these parts. My brother Woden and me, neither of us believed him. No way was that Aethys. He enlisted, and I did too. But, he didn't make it back. After the war, people took to punishing Aethys worshippers, accusing them of treason. Got real ugly, especially after the legacy started. Folks needed someone to blame. I was safe because I fought, but then this rumor starts that my brother, that he was on the wrong side. And I wasn't so safe anymore. Until my headman stepped in and said they'd have to hang him to get to me. Seems that's no longer a concern. Of course, the townies don't do the hanging these days, but when Raedric's men come, they got no problem doing the pointing.
Aloth glances at you and lowers his voice. You can see why I was eager to leave. Who's Kolsk? Someone who got tired of all the hangings. He's on the run now. Probably will be until they catch him. If you're next to be hanged, what are you still doing here? Drinking, mostly. Point of fact, I'm on my way out. I just haven't figured out where I'm going yet. Not a whole lot of places out there that don't think Waidwin's legacy started with the Waidwin. We could travel together. Where are you headed? Some place called Caed Nua. There's an old watcher there who might be able to help me.
Seem to remember hearing something about that years ago. He tamed that place. People would seek him out for all kinds of things. Troubles of the soul, questions for the departed. Of course, that was back when you didn't have to say watcher with a hush on your breath. A man such as that, there'd be things I'd want to ask him. Don't know why I never thought of it before. Not sure how I feel about setting out with a stranger, and a strange one at that. But, truth be told, you might be the only one in town who wouldn't feel some relief seeing me swing from that tree.
There's a fine reason if I ever heard one.
Alright then. Guess I'll do some sightseeing. Long as you're not the one picking the sights.
Yeah?
17 and a half.
Let's see. I lost leather armor. Saints War armor. Pierce-proofed second chance. Oh. All right. Well, I've got the nice little startings of a party here. I think that'll do it for now. Yeah. Probably gonna play something besides this right now. Probably with a few friends, hopefully. I'll catch you guys later.